Hello everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the new session of Docker and Kubernetes. So just give me 5 minutes of time. We will start by 8:05 or else 8:07. So let us see if there are any new candidates who are about to join. If not, we will continue the session. Just give me 5 minutes. This what we are going to learn here. So before I go into that main concept, let us have a brief discussion about. So what is your experience and why you want to learn Docker and Kubernetes? I just want to know what is why you want to learn Docker and Kubernetes. Yes, tell me please, Rajesh.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Actually, I'm a Java developer actually.
Mhm.
So far, right, I got a chance to work on projects like where only Spring Boot and the microservices we have used, but I did not get the chance to work on Docker Kubernetes. So
Rajesh,
just
do we have the conversation previously?
no, sir.
This is the
This is
first
first.
time you are attending to the session.
First time. Yes, first time, sir.
Okay, so I heard the same conversation with another candidate who is attending to the previous batch. Okay, anyway, yeah, that's why I asked you.
No, sure.
Fine. So you are a Java developer who is having the background working with the Spring Boot applications.
Mm,
That is what you are saying, and you
mm,
want to work with the Docker and Kubernetes,
mm,
maybe
yes.
because of a project that you are working on.
Yes.
Okay, so now let us discuss about why you need to learn about Docker and Kubernetes. What is the necessity of learning Docker and Kubernetes? What is the background and what is the syllabus for the Docker and Kubernetes? I'm not going very in deep into the concept of Docker and Kubernetes. Why? Because it's just a first session. So if I go very in deep into that, then you will face a lot of trouble. So what I'm going to do here is I will tell you the basic fundamentals and syllabus, and I will introduce about myself, and then we will go step by step into the process. Now, when you see here, whenever we are discussing about this Docker and Kubernetes, so what is this Docker? Okay, so what is this Docker and why we need to learn about the Docker? So everyone who is attending to these sessions, they know only a few things about the servers and all the things. Okay, so they don't know what is meant by container, what is meant by process, what is meant by server, what is meant by Kubernetes and all those things. What is a containerization? What is orchestration? So if I say you these things, you will be getting overwhelmed today itself. So I'm not going to say about that, but only one thing just I want to start with, that is Docker is a containerization platform. Containerization platform or else containerization tool. And the next one is Kubernetes. Kubernetes is an orchestration tool. Okay, these are the two things which I am going to say. What is orchestration? What is containerization? What is a container? That we will see very in deep into when we go when we go into the concepts. Now let me introduce about myself. And hi, I am Chaitanya. I will be your trainer for the next 25 days of course, whatever you are going to learn. That is Docker and Kubernetes. Now, when I come to my professional career, I'm currently working as a senior DevOps engineer in a reputed company, and then I have 13 years of experience overall in the teaching and as well as in the technical field. Now, if you come to my certification, I am a certified Kubernetes administrator. I'm having the Microsoft certifications, AWS certifications, and then I'm having a few Azure certifications also. This is about my certification records. Now, when you come to the concepts, what we are going to learn. So as you can see, I'm a certified Kubernetes administrator. I can help you on how you are going to work with the Kubernetes. So I hope that I am very clear about my professional career and whatever the certifications that I am having right now. Now the next thing is what you are going to learn in the next upcoming 20-25 days. So before I tell you about the syllabus, let me explain you one thing. This class will be 25 working days. Okay, overall. So the entire Docker and Kubernetes will be covered within 25 working days. This is the first thing. And the timings will be 7 to 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Okay, sometimes it might be prolonged to 9 also. Okay, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. These are the timings, class timings. And the next one will be, it will be purely online basis. Okay, everything will be online. If you are traveling also, don't say that, sir, at 7 o'clock, I will be in travel. You will be traveling in the car, or else you might be traveling on a public transport, until unless if you are traveling on a bike. Okay, so you can open your mobile, and from the mobile you can just log on to your Zoom. There you can hear the sessions. Okay, and the next one is, you are going to get class videos. Everyday class videos will be provided for you, and documentations and material will be provided for you. Materials will be provided for you. Okay, don't worry about documents, class videos, and the materials. Everything will be provided for you. And how you are going to learn this? Through online. And what are the timings? That is 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. How many working days? That is 25 working days. And fees for this course is 5,000 rupees. Okay, so don't negotiate. It's just a 5,000 rupees, and don't see that it is a very, very hectic thing for you. It's like an investment for your career. See, right now, if I have to say what is the salary package for a candidate who is putting somewhere around 3 years of experience, 3 years of experience and having a knowledge on Docker and Kubernetes is somewhere around 8 LPA to 10 LPA. So don't worry about your salary packages. You might be having an extensive knowledge on your particular domain. Just I'm telling whoever is a beginner, who is starting as a beginner, who is starting as a fresher, I'm keeping in that mind, and I'm saying you, if you have 3 years of experience, you are going to get this much amount. And if you are having a very good experience in either in the development field, and you are changing your domain from your, or else you are working as a developer and you have a knowledge on Docker and Kubernetes, and if you want to change your company, right now whatever you are getting, you are going to get a double salary on. So don't worry about that. Why? Because each and every company are requesting the candidates to have the knowledge on cloud and containerization and orchestration platforms. So it is not like that you need to go very, very difficult situations. So if you want to switch the job, easily you can switch the job if you have the knowledge on Docker and Kubernetes with cloud. Okay, I'm not segregating them both. So if you have knowledge on cloud and as well as Docker and Kubernetes, and you will be what I can say, you are going to get a fancy offer. That is the one thing. I hope I'm very clear about that. And the fees, and how much amount of salary that you are going to get if you put an experience of 3 years. And what else I have missed? Yeah, that's it. So everything I have given, working hours and all the things. And what is the syllabus for this entire Docker and Kubernetes concepts? Now here you can see we are going to discuss about Docker. The first and foremost thing will be Docker. So in Docker, what we will be learning, the first topic will be Docker basics. Okay, in Docker basics, what we will be discussing here is about the Docker and containers, C groups, namespaces, and then we will be discussing about Docker architecture, Docker lifecycle. Okay, among this thing, you have to understand Docker installation on Ubuntu machine. Docker installing in Linux, or else we can go with the Windows also. Okay, we will be discussing with the Linux. Okay, so this is the basic concepts which you are going to learn in the Docker basics. And the second one will be, once you have gone through this concept, the second one will be Docker networking concepts. You are going to learn about Docker networking. And the third one will be Docker. Once you have completed Docker networking, you can learn Docker images. Okay, what is a Docker image and how you are going to understand about the Docker image? In Docker images, you are going to understand about Docker file and its instructions. Docker file and its instructions or commands. Okay, these are the things that you are going to learn. Next one is Docker networking. Next concept which you are going to discuss, which we are going to discuss already. We have discussed about the Docker networking. We are going to go through Docker volumes. Okay, here you will be having volumes and bind bounds. We are going to discuss about that. It's just one session. Don't worry about this. And the next one, which we are going to discuss here is Docker Compose. We are going to discuss about Docker Compose. Okay. And the sixth one will be Docker Swarm. Okay. These are the things that we are going to discuss in the entire Docker configurations. In the Docker Swarm, again, we will be going through so many things. Okay. And the next one will be Kubernetes. With this, we will be concluding the Docker and then we will be diving back into the Kubernetes. In Kubernetes, what we will be discussing here is we are going to discuss about Kubernetes basics, where we will be understanding about the concept called as Kubernetes architecture, monolithic versus microservices. Okay, these are the concepts that we are going to discuss. And later, once we have gone through the basics, the second one will be Kubernetes or also creating K8s cluster. From now onwards, I will call it as K8s. K8s is nothing but Kubernetes cluster. With the help of KubeADM, there is a tool called as KubeADM, and we are going to create the Kubernetes cluster with the KubeADM and then KOps. KOps in the sense Kubernetes operations. With the help of these two things, how we are going to create the Kubernetes cluster. And whatever we are going to discuss here in the Kubernetes topic, this will be what I can say your on premises, how you are going to work in the in your company. In the same manner, we are going to discuss in this Kubernetes cluster thing and all. Okay, when you go to a company, how you will be working with your Kubernetes. So that will be replicated over here. As this is a class and I have to say very what I can say simply, I will not go in that particular perspective. Somebody will be telling you on the what I can say Minikube. There is a tool called as Minikube. In the Minikube, they are going to tell you about the entire Kubernetes. So I am not going to tell you in that perspective. So whatever you are going to learn, you have to learn in the production gauge, okay, production manner. So whenever you are going to work in the companies, how Kubernetes cluster will be implemented in the companies and how you are going to work around with the Kubernetes. So as per the company perspective, I'm going to tell you, not with the development perspective. Right. So the next one is understanding about K8s workloads. Okay, understanding about K8s workloads, and the fourth one will be K8s services. Okay, in workloads, what we are going to discuss here is we are going to discuss about pods, replica set, deployments, and then we are going to discuss about stateful sets, and then daemon sets. These are all the things that we will be discussing. And Kubernetes services, which we are going to discuss about cluster IP, node port. Okay, and then we will be discussing about load balancer. There are so many things, headless services, and then we will be having external service, which we are going to discuss. But that is not very important. But just I am going to tell you in the perspective of knowledge perspective. That's it. And the next one will be Kubernetes services. Once we have completed this, then we are going to understand about Kubernetes ingress controller. What does it mean by ingress controller and what we are going to work, we will see into. And the next one, K8s ingress controller, and then probes and sidecar containers. And the next one will be K8s RBAC, role-based access control. And the next one will be K8s, what is the next one? Advanced scheduling. Okay, in advanced scheduling, again, you will be getting like node affinity, pod anti-affinity, and then node selector and taints and tolerations like that. There are so many concepts which we are going to discuss, So don't worry about this. If I say you all these things right now, it will be looking like overwhelming. So I'm just giving you the main topics which we are going to discuss. Once we are into the concepts, then it will be very clear for you. Okay. And the next one, what we will discuss here is we are going to discuss about advanced scheduling or back and then storage. We are going to discuss about the storage, and then we will be discussing about K8s network services, and the 11th one will be created as Helm charts. Okay, and the next one will be STO mesh, STO service mesh, and then we will be discussing about Argo. It is also known as GitOps. There are so many another things which I have left because you will feel very highly technical things. So I don't want to make you uncomfortable in the starting day of the session itself. So I just saying you what are the topics that we are going to discuss in the entire concepts. Okay, so do you understand this? So you don't need to frighten about this particular syllabus and all the things. Okay, so my thing here is I just want to show you what is the syllabus. Apart from that, I don't want to make you fear about the syllabus. It will be very simple. Whenever we are learning, it is very easy for you to learn the concepts. Okay, so any questions? The entire sessions will be uh
Sir, they mentioned like 8 o'clock, right? 7 to 8:30.
yeah, 7 to 8:30 is the
I
session
got.
time. Okay, so the demo timings will be 8 to 9 o'clock. Okay,
Oh,
so whatever the 3 demos that we have
oh,
scheduled,
I thought regular classes.
regular classes will
Classes
be.
is 8 o'clock, so maybe 7 o'clock not feasible.
Mhm. Let us see. So I'm not saying that. So this is my class timing. 7 to 8:30 is the class timing. Somewhere around 9 o'clock also it is going to go. So yeah. So one thing I can promise you here is you can go across multiple things. Like you will learn everything, and
Yeah,
it will be very
yeah,
simple.
but I have a dependency, baby dependency.
I totally understand. I am not disagreeing with you. So I'm just saying you this is what we are going to learn. That's it. So I already said you. So this is 7 o'clock batch, which we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
the
But
demos.
mail, I thought 8 o'clock. So after
Okay.
joining demo, I came to know that
Mhm.
7 to 8:30.
These sessions are totally you will have practical oriented sessions, which means that you will have theory classes also, but even though you will have most of the classes will be practical oriented. So I will do the practical and I will share you the video and the documents whichever you required. And by looking into that practical, you have to do the practical in your home. And one more thing here is, so that the cost is 5,000. This is the fees. Okay. Now, where we are going to work with this Docker and Kubernetes, we are going to, what is the prerequisites for the course? The prerequisites for the course is AWS account. You need to have an AWS account. Why? Because we are going to discuss the entire concepts in the AWS only. So whatever we are discussing, either it might be Docker to Kubernetes, the servers are we are going to create the servers in the AWS only. So you need to have a very good knowledge, or else you need to have a fundamental knowledge about the AWS. And firstly, you need to have an AWS account. This is the first one. And the second thing will be you need to have a laptop with minimum 4 GB of RAM. Okay. So a laptop with a nice internet connectivity and 4 GB of RAM is more than enough. So these are the prerequisites that you need to have to learn the entire Docker and Kubernetes. So once you are having this, and then if you have a very good knowledge on AWS configurations, that will be very helpful for you. Okay. So again, saying you the things, I am going to tell you the practical, and you have to do the practical. The main point here is, apart from the course fees, you are not you are paying course fees to DURGASOFT. Okay. Apart from this, you are purchasing or else you are creating an AWS account. Okay. When you are creating the AWS accounts, what you are going to do, you will be deploying the servers. When you are deploying the servers, so for example, Docker free of cost, you can do your practical with free of cost. Why? Because we don't want high-end servers. So the free tier eligible like T2 micro server is more than enough, which is totally free of cost. Okay. But when we go to the Kubernetes, in Kubernetes, we have to launch the cluster. We have to launch the cluster. which will cost you, like, we have to use the server called as T2 medium server. This T2 medium server will incur the charges. You will have the charges from Amazon, and you have to pay that. So how much hours that you have that you are using this server. Okay, for example, you are doing the practical. Okay, so for 3 hours you have done the practical. 3 hours you have done the practical. So for 3 hours there will be certain amount that will be in the AWS account. Next day you have done 3 hours of practical. Next day you have done 3 hours of practical. Like that, what is going to happen for every 3 hours, whenever you are using T2 medium server, they are going to calculate all the 3 hours on which you have done the practical. If you do 1 hour of practical, 2 hours of practical, so how much amount of time that you have spent on AWS and how much amount of time that you are using this servers. So they are going to consolidate the entire amount, and you have to pay the bill at the end of the month or else at the beginning of the month. Especially in AWS, you have to pay the bill by third of the month. They will generate the bill by third of the month, and you have to pay that bill. So keep 2000 rupees aside for your practice. Okay, 2000 rupees aside for your practice. You are not going to pay 2000 rupees to me, or else you are not going to pay 2000 rupees for DurgaSoft. You are going to pay 2000 rupees for Amazon. I'm saying only 2000 rupees, a rough figure. Either it might be 1500 or 1000 rupees also, or else it may go to 3000 also, depending on your practice. How many times you are practicing, depending on that, the charges will incur. Okay, it might be 1000 rupees, it might be 2000, it might be 3000. So I'm saying you in the middle figure, that is 2000 rupees you keep in your hand so that you can pay to the AWS if you are doing an high level practices. Okay, when you are going for Kubernetes implementation, and if you are very interested about knowing the pods, deployments, and you are taking your sweet time, then definitely charges will incur. So whatever the 7000 rupees that you are paying for the entire course, this 7000 rupees, that is 5000 rupees for DurgaSoft and 2000 rupees for AWS. So keep in mind that it is an investment for your next feature. Okay, for when the course is completed, when you are going to attend a job, so this 7000 rupees is an investment for your 7 lakhs job. Okay, keep in mind that. So that is one thing that I want to say. Am I clear with this? Any questions? Apart from the timings, any questions?
Actually, I don't have a knowledge on AWS. Is that okay?
Yeah, I will tell you whenever we are starting the batch. Maybe from tomorrow onwards, we will discuss about the AWS basic things, and then we will go into the concepts of what I can say, Docker and Kubernetes. So don't worry about if you don't have the knowledge on AWS also, you don't need to worry. We'll discuss about. Okay. Hmm. Yes, Rajesh, if you have any questions, you can post your questions now. Okay, no questions. That's fine. Now let us discuss about. I'm not going in deep into the technical terms, just the basic terms. Okay. Why we need the Docker? Why Docker? What is the necessity of Docker? Okay. So, what is an application? First of all, let us go from the flow. What is an application? Can anybody tell me what is meant by an application? Hmm. What is an application? I'm not going with high-end knowledge, high-end technical terms. Just I'm asking you, what is an application? Rajesh, the developer, or else Annapurna, you can also say about this if you have knowledge on what is an application. Guys, come on, speak out. This is not like any another session that you don't need to talk. You have to talk. Yes, what is? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what is an application. See, okay, fine. An application is a combination of programs, combination of services. Okay, so if for example you want to have the internet banking, what you will do? You will go to ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, or else SBI Bank. So when you type www.icicbank.com, you will see an application in front of you. This is an application which you are seeing in front of you. And by providing the user ID and password, you will be logging into your account. So this is an application. Okay. In this application, what you have to do, this application, this is the front end. Okay, try to understand. For an application, what you will be having, you will be having a front end. Front end means what user is connecting with. Okay, user interface. This user interface is called as front end. Now, whatever the data that user is providing, and when clicking the login button, so here I am getting some response from the application. How I am getting the response? So whenever the user data has been provided, so this data will be going to an another server called as an application server. Now, if you can see, so whatever the front end that you are accessing, that will be deployed on a server, front end server. Okay, this is the front end server. Here we will be having certain things like Tom, Tomcat, Nginx, or else IIS, like this. These services will be there. So these services will provide the responsive image for the users. So whoever are the users who are trying to access the application, the front end will be provided by these servers. Okay, so when the user hits the application, or else when the user hits the domain, so the response that is coming from this server. Okay, and now what is going to happen in the back end? In the back end, whenever he provides the data into that application, there will be an application server. So this is called as my web server, and this is my application server. Application server. So in this, you will have the main application, your business logic. The entire business logic for running the application will be in the application server. So these applications will be created with the Java or Python, or you are having like Ruby, .NET. There are so many another languages that are available by which you can create the applications. Now, this front end application, the web server application, will communicate with the backend. Whatever the data has been given, this backend will process the data, or else will understand the request given by the user. So right now, as an user, I want to go for personal. Okay, so this is my personal banking. If I click on login, I'm getting the some responsive output from the. So here it is asking me to provide the user ID and all the things. So how I am going to do this? So whenever the front end, whenever whatever the things that I am communicating with the front end, it will communicate the thing with the back end, with the application. So the user is clicking on what is the response that I have to provide to the user. So there will be an application server. So the application server will provide the response to the front end, and the front end will provide the response back to the user. Now, if any data is required by the user, in the back end, you will have a database server. So this is the database server, whichever you are seeing here. Now, this DB server will be connected towards your application server. The database server will be connected towards your application server. And what are the databases that you are having? You might be having MySQL, Postgres, and then MS SQL, Oracle, like that. So now what is happening? Whenever the user wants to store any data, that will be forwarded to the application server, and that the application server will connect with the database server, and it stores the data inside the database server. Whenever the user want to retrieve the data, the same process from the database from to the application server, and from the application server to the web server, and directly to the user. This is the way it is happening. And this is called as three-tier web architecture. Whatever you are seeing here, this is called as three-tier web architecture, which will be in common for any web applications. So whatever the web applications that we are creating, either it might be a banking application, or else it might be a e-commerce application, any application that you are creating, this is common architecture. Among this, which are very, very, very important, why we are going for the containers. So the entire questions lies here. So you cannot put the databases inside the containers. Why? I will tell you in the upcoming time. But as of now, we are going to work with the application and the front end servers. Okay, so these front end and application servers can be created as a containers. Why these application and web servers has to be created as a containers? So the first and foremost thing is, before we use the containers, somewhere around 1990s to 2000, 2010, what we used to have. So before the containers, before Docker came into the picture, in the good olden days, we used to have a concept called as servers. Now, what is this servers? See, what happens here? There is a banking, uh, there is a bank, okay, or else there is an e-commerce company, or else any company if you take. Okay, there is a bank. For example, I will take the bank. Either it might be like SBI or else ICICI or else HDFC like that. In our case, it will be like what I can say, ABC Bank. Okay, there is an ABC Bank. In this ABC Bank, there will be so many customers will be there for this bank. Either it might be corporate customers or else it might be normal customers. Rate. Okay, so or else the normal customers is called as retail customers. Okay, normal. So whoever are creating the savings account and they are saving their money, they are all comes under the retail. And whatever the accounts that are related to the company, those are called as corporate accounts. Now this bank is having the corporate accounts and this bank and retail accounts, as well as this bank wants to have an wallet account also. So they want to provide wallet services for the end customers, and as well as internet banking, or else I can call it as not the internet banking, mobile banking. Okay, they want their application to be available in the mobile application. So like that. So now you need to understand one thing. So the bank people, whoever are there in the bank, they cannot develop that application. Why? Because these people know about the accounts and they know about the computers and all the things, but they don't know the coding languages, Java, and they don't know testing. So now what this banking team will do, they will go to the nearest IT service company. Whoever are the IT service providers are there, they will go to the IT service company and they request that we want to have an application for our bank. We want to have an application for our bank. In that application, these are the features that we want. What are the features? Corporate, retail, wallet, mobile banking, and so many another things we want. So now this IT service company, for example, TCS. Okay, for example, TCS, or else I can call it as Infosys, or else Wipro, like that. These are the IT service company. What they are going to do? So these IT service company will provide the services. So now TCS will say that, okay, we understand your requirement, or else any another company will say that we understand your requirement. We will create an application for you and we will provide the application for you between this timeline. They will have some SLAs and all the things. Okay, they are going to say that we will be providing by this timeline. Okay, and all the things. Now, what TCS will do? TCS will appoint a manager. Will have a development team. Among the development team, they are going to take some amount of people or some amount of employees, like 10 employees or 15 employees from the development team, and they want to work for this application. So there is a development team who will be developing the entire code for this application. So once the entire application is ready, so they have developed this application on the Java. And how many types of developers will be there? There will be front end developers. They are called as UI users. Oh, sorry, UI developers, user interface developers, and then there will be UX, like logos, whatever the graphical things that you want to create for your website. Everything will be developed by these UX users. And then there will be a development team. So in general, whoever knows about the Java, Python, basic coding languages and all the things, they will comes under the development team. And who knows about the basic HTML or else Bootstrap or what I can say React JS, like that. So there are so many things, JavaScript, React JS, they who knows about that, they will comes under the UI developers. And the developers, whoever are service related developers who can work with the Java application, Python application, they will comes under the service-based developers. So these developers will coordinate with each other, and they are going to develop an application. So once this application is developed, now they have to provide a demo for the bank. How they are going to provide the demo, whether they are going to show the demo in their laptops, or else where this application will be put, or else where they are going to keep this application. Up to now it is clear. Now my question is, where the developers are going to keep the application? Yes. So the developers are going to keep the application in a server. They will provide, or else they are going to get a server, and in this server what they are going to do, they are going to put this application. Okay, here comes the main part of operations team, like system administrators, network administrators, or else backup administrators. Everything will be coming over here. So in the server they are going to put this application, and they will show the demo to the end customer. By accessing this application, they are going to provide the demo for the bank. Now it is all okay. Now where they are keeping this application, they are putting this application inside a server. Now which type of server, who has to manage this server? So if at all, if this server is in the on-premises environment, on-premises in the sense in your company. Okay, on-premises means physically you can see, physically you can touch, physically it is present in your company. The server is present in your company, that is called as an on-prem server. Now this on-premises server can be accessed, or else this has to be maintained. So if you purchase a car, it is not like you have purchased the car and you put the car in your home. You have to maintain the car every day. You have to check out the air in the tires, and you have to check the fuel in the tank, and then you have to clean the car, and you have to drive the car, and as well as every installment you have to, or what I can say, service the car. So there are so many things. Purchasing the car is not a simple thing. In the same manner, if we have a server, it is not a simple thing. So what we have to do, we have to maintain the server. So for that we need system administrators, system admins. So what is the main functionality of the system admins? They will monitor the server, how much amount of CPU is consumed, how much amount of RAM is consumed, or else is there any problem with the server. Everything will be monitored by the system administrator. And then there will be network admins. Okay, who is going to monitor the networking? So what is meant by networking? How this application is able to access by the users? So over the network only, So there will be connections happening between the server and your laptops and all the things. So that will be happened by the network administrators. And then there will be backup administrator to take the backup of that server, backup admins. And then you will have storage admins to monitor the storage. Like that, there are so many people who are involved into this particular process. Whenever we are saying that purchasing a server is very simple, I have purchased a server for my company, it is not like that. After purchasing the server, the main show begins. What you have to do, you have to maintain the server. So purchasing is very easy, but maintenance is very, very tough. So for maintaining, you want system admins, network admins, backup admins, and storage admins. Like that, there are so many people who are involved into that. Now, this is the main problem with the on-premises server. This is the main problem with the on-premises server. And one more thing here is, inside the server, I am going to install an operating system. So purchasing a server means you brought the server, CPU and RAM, and physical hardware is there. Is that enough for you? It is not enough for you. So inside the server, you need to install the operating system. Without operating system, it is nothing. Okay, so in the same manner, we have to install an operating system. If I install an operating system called as Linux, either it might be Ubuntu Linux or Red Hat Linux, we have installed that. Now, this server is equipped with some 16 CPU, which means inside the server, I am having 16 CPU and 256 GB of RAM. This much amount of RAM server I have purchased for my application. Now I install the Linux operating system inside the server, and I am running the operating system. Now inside this operating system, I have installed the Java dependency. So if I want to run this application, if it is a Java application, especially the Spring Boot application, Spring Boot will have the version dependencies, if I am not wrong. So what are the version dependencies? Spring Boot will have like, if I want to run this application, I need Java 17 or else Java 8 or else Java 11. Java 22 is also available right now. So now what is happening here? I will install Java 17 on my server and I will run the application. Whenever I am running the application on the server, it is fine. Now I want to install one more application. I want to install one more application with Java version 11. Is it possible to install the application Java version 11? Java developers. Guys, the senior Java developers, can you please tell me, can I run a Java 11 application by default where you are having Java 17 in the server? Yes or no?
No.
Uh, uh, uh.
Or we can install multiple Java versions, but we can use.
See, we can run Java 11 application in Java 17. So whatever the upgraded version that you are having, you can run a downgraded version application. But the main point is, if you are installing a Java 11 and if you try to run the Java 17 application, it won't be run. Okay, downgrade to upgrade is not possible. But anyways, so here what is happening? I am installing only two applications inside the server. So now if you see what are the resources of my server, I am having huge amount of resources. Okay, see, if you are having a three bedroom flat, and there is only one person living in that, is that required for that person? In the same manner, here also, you are having huge amount of resources, but running only two applications. The first application is going to consume only one CPU, some 4 GB of RAM, and the another application is consuming only another one CPU and 2 GB of RAM. Now, what is the necessity of a server which is having 16 CPU to 56 GB of RAM? Worst cases, if a lot of load is put on this application also, the applications will be consuming only 8 GB of RAM or else some 16 GB of RAM or 32 GB of RAM. Then what about the remaining resources? So that is the main drawback of your physical server. So the main drawback is physical server, the resource consumption will be very, very less. If you are running multiple applications also, the physical consumption of resources will be very less. So to overcome this problem, what we are trying to do? So we are going for a concept called as virtual machines. From there, we are going to a concept called as containers. So what is a Docker container and what is a virtual machine and what is C groups, what is namespaces, that we are going to discuss in the next session. So next session will be very interesting. Maybe this session is also very interesting for you. So we will meet in the next session, discuss more and more topics about the concept of the C groups, namespaces, virtual machines, and containers. So that's all for today. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now. It's all open for you. Next 5 minutes, it's open for you. You can ask me the questions.
So this what is this?
Sorry, you have muted your mic. Excuse me. Yes, Nginx server, you're asking something. I did not understand what you're asking. Hold on. You asked me Nginx server. Nginx. What is Nginx? What is your question here? Can you unmute yourself? Uh, Rajesh, I'm unable to hear you. Okay, no problem. It's an audio issue. That's fine. So what's your question? Nginx you have asked me. So what is that? What is the usage of Nginx? Nginx can be used in multiple ways. Either it can be used as a web server like Tomcat, or else you can use it as a reverse proxy also. What is reverse proxy and what is web server, that we will discuss. And you can use Nginx as a load balancer also. There are so many use cases that we will discuss. But as of now, Nginx is just like a web server. If you know or if you understand that, that's more than enough for today. But going ahead, we will discuss about so many things with the Nginx. Okay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Questions, guys? Okay. Excuse me. Okay, guys. That's it from my end. I hope you had at least a basic understanding about what is happening in the background and how we are going to get the application and all things. In the next session, we are going to discuss in deep about the main concept of containers and all the things. And we will drive back, like today, the first demo will happen tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So Friday and Saturday. By Monday onwards, you will have the regular sessions at 7 p.m. So that's it from my end. Have a nice day and we'll meet in the next session.